Okay, now we'll begin with exercise 24-4 on page 1146. And here we're looking at, or the decision the company's facing is whether or not to discontinue one of their product lines. Let's read through it. The condensed product line income statement for Dish and Dat Company for the month of March is as follows. And they give us their income statement by product line. They produce 3 products: bowls, plates, and cups. And if you'll notice, the first thing that jumps out at me in looking at the income statement is on income from operations, what cups lost $2,200. So it would be easy to look at that and say, okay, if we discontinued the cups product line, we'd then be more profitable. It's not quite that simple, though, you guys. Let's read a little further. Fixed costs are 15% of cost of goods sold and 40% of selling and administrative expenses. Okay, you guys, total cost is equal to fixed cost plus variable cost. So if fixed costs are 15% of cost of goods sold, the variable cost percentage would be 85%. And then if fixed costs are 40% of selling and administrative expenses, then the variable portion would be 60%. Dish and Dat, and that's hard for me to say without laughing, but anyway, Dish and Dat assumes that fixed cost would not be materially affected if the cups line were discontinued. Here, to me, it's easy to think of their fixed cost as rent on the production facility. The landlord wants the same amount of rent each month, whether the company produces bowls, plates, and cups, or if they just produce bowls and plates, or if they just produce bowls. Right? The landlord wants the same amount of rent either way. So that's a good example of a fixed cost to relate this to, I think. Okay, they ask us on A to prepare a differential analysis dated March 31, 2016 to determine if the cups line should be continued or discontinued. I'm not going to set mine up exactly like what you see in the book. I think this way is a little easier. But let's go through it. I gave you a space here. These 3 merged spaces are for your heading. Of course, if one like this is on your final, you would do it on paper. You'd have a form similar to this. But you'd write it out instead of typing it out. So when you're getting ready for the final, practice these on paper. Okay, and that's for the ACC 121 IN1 course. Okay, so we'll start it out with the name of the company, Dish and Dat. Okay, should include company there as well, I guess. And this is differential product analysis report. And this is for the month ended March 31, 2016. Okay, now we want 3 columns, one for each of our product lines: bowls, plates, and cups. Always in class, I ask my students, and it's completely unrelated to the topic, but what if you were on a desert island? Which one would you pick? Would you rather have a bowl, a plate, or a cup? Maybe you're on that Naked and Afraid, right? I don't know if you guys watch that. I have a girlfriend, so I sometimes end up watching it with her, even though I don't want to. That probably happens with boyfriends too. But anyway, if you're stuck in a deserted place, which one would you go with? I would tend to lean toward the bowl, because you could use it really as a plate or a cup, right? Anyway, nothing to do with the topic. Let's go further with it. Okay, we first want to look at our differential sales, or how sales would change if we discontinued the cups line. Well, we expect sales to remain the same for bowls and plates if the cups line is discontinued. So there's really no change in sales. So on this row we'll just put sales. I like to even skip a row here. Okay, sales for bowls, 71,000. Plates, 105,700. And cups, 31,300. Okay, so in making this decision, you guys, we only want to consider costs that are relevant to the decision of whether or not to keep the cups product line. Well, which costs are relevant? You probably thought of this already. The costs that won't be relevant are the fixed costs, because the fixed costs are there whether we continue to produce cups or we stop producing cups. So in making this decision, the only relevant costs are our variable costs. So we want to go, on this row we'll say differential cost of annual sales. First we'll look at variable cost of goods sold. I guess we should say differential costs. There are more than one of annual sales. Variable cost of goods sold would be first. Well, remember here, you guys, our formula, total cost is always equal to fixed cost plus variable cost. Okay, so on cost of goods sold, well, total cost is always 100%. Fixed costs on cost of goods sold were 15%. So our blank space here, our variable cost portion on cost of goods sold, is the difference in the two, right? So it must be 85%. Variable cost portion of cost of goods sold. And that's your 85%. You don't have to show this. I'm just doing this for your benefit. There's the answer we were looking for, the 85%. I'm just doing this so you have the notes. You certainly wouldn't have to show this part on the test. I'll only be grading this portion and then your answer on B. So for variable cost of goods sold, what we do is take each cost of goods sold number and multiply it by the variable cost percentage, or the variable cost portion of cost of goods sold, and that's 85%. So for bowls, it's 32,600 times 0.85. For plates, it's 42,300 times 0.85. And then for cups, it's 16,800 times 0.85. And that gives us our variable cost of goods sold. Okay, we also want to determine variable selling and administrative expenses. Good grief, I can't type expenses all of a sudden. And it capitalized it. Hang on. Oh, that's driving me nuts. There we go. I might could have fit the whole word in there too, huh? There we go. Variable selling and administrative expenses. Well, you'll do the same thing over here. Total cost is 100%. The fixed cost portion, they say, is 40%. Plus, then the variable cost portion must be 60%. That's the variable cost portion of selling and administrative expenses. So here, we'll multiply each selling and administrative expense number by 60%. So selling and administrative expenses for bowls, $27,400 times the variable cost percentage, 0.6. Selling and administrative expenses for plates, 42.8 times 0.6, and then variable selling and administrative expenses for cups, 16.7 in total, times the 60%, 10,200. Now let's total our differential cost of annual sales. I think I like this underlined better in this situation. And we can put one up here too that ended the revenue section. Okay, now we want to add these together. And then we'll bring that over. All we're doing is adding these two numbers together, and these two numbers together here, and these two numbers together here. Okay. Alright, now we're going to subtract our variable cost from sales and see if this particular product line is covering its own variable cost. If they're covering their own variable cost and contributing something toward fixed cost to the company, then we'll want to keep them around. So this is differential income from annual sales. It's going to be equal to our sales number minus our variable cost. And we can bring that over the same way. Okay. We'll go ahead and give it one of these. Okay. The bowls, they're covering their own variable cost and they're kicking in $26,850 toward company-wide fixed cost. But they weren't in question. They're earning a profit even given their share of fixed cost. Same with plates. They're more than covering their own variable cost and they're kicking in $44,000 toward company-wide fixed cost. Excuse me, they're more than covering their own variable cost and they're kicking in $44,065 toward company-wide fixed costs. How about cups? We're thinking about discontinuing them. It looks like they're losing $2,200. It would be a good thing to do away with them, but not so. They're more than covering their own. They're covering their own variable cost, meaning the sales number is more than variable cost. So they're covering their own variable cost, and they're kicking in $7,000 toward company-wide fixed cost. If we discontinue cups, then this $7,000 has to be covered by bowls and plates, and it makes both of them less profitable. So we definitely want to keep the cups product line, or continue the cups product line. Had this been a negative number, meaning they're not covering their own variable cost, then we would say discontinue. So on B, should the cups line be retained? Yes. The cups line should be retained. And retained just means kept, of course, because they are covering their own variable costs, and they are contributing $7,000 towards company-wide fixed costs. Hope that makes sense. Not only are they covering their own variable costs, but they're kicking in $7,000 towards fixed costs of the company, things like rent on the production facility. If we eliminate cups, if this goes away, then this $7,000 has to be picked up by bowls and plates, effectively making them, if you just split it in half, less profitable by $3,500 each. So we definitely want to continue with the cups product line. Again, if they're not covering their own variable cost, if this is a negative number, we'd say discontinue, because they're not covering their own variable cost, and they're also not contributing anything toward company-wide fixed cost if this number is negative. Okay, to me that's a really interesting exercise, you guys. I hope you enjoyed it as well. And 24 and 25 are kind of odd chapters for us, because you don't have any homework due for chapter 24 or chapter 25. Instead, what you need to do to prepare for the final is practice these exercises on paper. Practice all of the exercises from chapters 22 through 26. Now, not all of them that you see in the videos, of course, will show up on your final, but your final will come from the videos and problems that we've worked in chapters 22, 23, 24, 25, and 26. I would practice these on paper, because your final will be on paper. But chapters 24 and 25, there's nothing to turn in for homework. Just practice these to get ready for the final. We had some homework in 22 and 23, and we will have again in chapter 26. But 24 and 25, use this time wisely. Your final counts a decent percentage of your overall grade, so you'll want to do as well on it as possible. If you have any questions, please be in touch. Thank you very much.